Hi everyone, this is Kathy Skipper from AromaGnosis, and in this video I want to address anxiety. I think it's a theme that many of us can relate to, and to begin with, I want to differentiate or actually lump together both our own anxiety. So we have our personal stories, we have our upbringing, our lives, what's happening in our lives now, and the different aspects of that that can trigger anxiousness or anxiety. But there's also another aspect that I want to group with this when I'm talking about anxiety, and that's what I call collective anxiety. So, I think we can all agree that things are very intense and have been for a while now on the planet. There's a huge ecological disaster that we're facing. There are wars, there's crazy politics, etc., etc. You name it, it's anxiety provoking. So many people are not only feeling anxiety linked to their own personal stories, but they're also feeling this collective anxiety linked to a world that is becoming more and more difficult to really comprehend and to feel in harmony with. So there's a sort of incoherence and a difficulty. I find it really difficult to understand what's happening and to find my place in that. And that is anxiety provoking. So Florian, my husband, who's a holistic psychiatrist, and I have a private practice where we see clients. And one of the things that we've noticed and people have talked a lot about is this sort of waking up with this underlying feeling of anxiety. And I know that sometimes happens to me as well. You open your eyes, here I am in the world, and then suddenly, thud, there it is. There's that heavy feeling of anxiety. It might be in your stomach or in your chest, but it's there, it's palpable. So generally, the way we've been brought up in the dominant culture, not everybody, but generally, is that a common reaction to unwanted feelings is somehow try not to feel them. And we have many now, more and more tactics for doing that, especially our phones and screens, or eating something, or drinking something, or working harder, or having sex, or whatever it is. We try to do something to distract ourselves or to cover up the feeling. It's an uncomfortable feeling, we don't want it. Uncomfortable feelings are made to feel unwanted. We have to be happy. On social media, we're always throwing out these images of the perfect life, and anything far from perfect is considered, or even a little bit further away from perfect is considered, unacceptable in this world of image. So although we do this trying to cover up from our feelings is not a long-term solution. It might work momentarily, but it is definitely not a long-term health solution. I like that saying, what we resist persists. So, it's a phrase we've all heard, but Florian and I see this with our clients. Somebody might spend 20, 30 years avoiding a difficult feeling. They'll do anything to avoid it. All that energy you can imagine that goes into avoiding a difficult feeling that they sort of knows there, it's simmering in the background, but they will do everything not to feel it. And then when something happens and they're accompanied and they're able to feel it, it might take 10 minutes. And that feeling's felt. It's like, I always see it like these feelings are those thin layers around an onion. And when we feel one, we're peeling away the onion and we're getting nearer to our essence, which is at the center of the onion. So if we want to heal from our anxiety and from other difficult feelings, we actually need to do the opposite to avoiding them. We need to feel them. So that's where this very you might have heard this phrase, to feel is to heal, but it's a phrase that really helped me, reminded me, actually, here's a feeling, I have a choice, I can run away from it, but it'll still be there, or I can actually feel it, and then there'll be some healing in that. So the first thing that I'd like to do is share very quickly the outline of an exercise that I do and I do with my clients that really helps to overcome anxiety when it crops up. So the exercise, I call it to feel is to heal. So it's about fully acknowledging our feelings. So first of all, we wake up, we're feeling anxious. Instead of straight away trying to do something different, acknowledge, hi, I'm feeling anxious. There it is. It's present. It's with me. Really feel it. So how do we really feel the feeling? When we're not used to feeling feelings, we're used to running away from them, how do we feel it? Well, I would lie there and ask myself, first of all, to welcome the feeling. as if you were welcoming a guest into your house. Come in. What do you want? How are you? Come and sit down. Same thing with the feeling. So what does it feel like in your body would be the first question. You're lying there, you're welcoming in the feeling, and just notice, bring awareness. Nothing to do, nothing to change, just bring awareness. How does the feeling feel in your body? And you could check into each of your body parts and see how the anxiety, if and how it's expressing itself there. You could ask yourself, where do I feel it? And focus in on that place. Breathe into that place. Acknowledge it. Allow the feeling to really express itself. Make a mental note of how it feels on the physical level. And then you could even think on an emotional level. What is the emotion in this feeling? How does it feel emotionally? What is it making me think? Is this feeling triggering an old belief system? Or is it triggering a worrying thought? Etc., etc. So just really sit with it and allow yourself to notice it on all levels, on the physical level, the emotional level, the mental level, even the spiritual level. And then maybe jot down what you notice in your journal. Allow the anxiety to exist in its own right without judging it. This is key. The minute we try to judge our feeling, oh, it's come from that, oh, I'm always anxious, what's wrong with me? Or if we try to change it, this isn't good, I'm going to try and make it into something else, or I'm going to try and sort of pack it down, or even trying to understand it. Sometimes at first we just need to allow it. We don't need to say this anxiety comes from this because when I was a child this happened, or yesterday my husband said something and it triggered this. You don't have to understand it at first. All you have to do is bring expanded awareness, make space for it, behold it for what it is in itself. Beholding is the core of healing. So by beholding that anxious feeling, you're actually beholding yourself with the anxious feeling, and there's a lot of healing in that. And then open yourself to the anxiety. No resistance, just a complete feeling of openness, as if you're opening your house to a visitor. You're opening your body, your soul, your mind, your spirituality, your whole psyche to this anxiety. Step into it. Really put yourself in the center of the anxiety. And once again, just notice what it feels like. It might move. If it moves, notice where it moves in the body, where it wants to go, and allow it to go. Don't block it, don't tighten, just allow. All you're doing is being aware. That's all you have to do. Like an empty vessel, allowing that's the home, allowing the anxiety to do what it wants, and you're just being aware. And feeling compassion for yourself and for the anxiety. No judgment, compassion, love, open heart. And also remember that you are not the anxiety. It's merely a feeling passing through you. It's a layer of this onion that's keeping yourself from your true essence. And it needs to be allowed to move. Feelings just need to be felt. And a felt feeling is allowing it to move through you. And remember to breathe and stay with it. Don't hold your breath. I always say to my students, breathe and allow. If your mind wanders, simply acknowledge that it's wandered and go back into the awareness of the anxiety. So when I do this exercise regularly, I am much more able to handle the feelings of anxiety or any other difficult feelings for that matter. And in fact, now what I've noticed, if I feel a feeling coming up, something has been triggered, instead of that initial reaction before, which was to run away from it, what I feel now is a sort of excitement. It's going to be felt. I'm going to allow this feeling to be felt, and that's a sort of really good feeling once you get used to it. And as with everything, you have to repeat it until it becomes a habit. You then realize that you can relate to anxiety or other difficult feelings on friendly terms. I can even feel empathy for it and for myself. So knowing I can fully feel anxiety and it doesn't kill me is actually very liberating, and it diminishes the fear. It's when we hold on, we're crisping up, trying to stop it. That creates more fear around the anxiety. And it also allows the anxiety to process itself, work itself out, move through the body and disappear, rather than becoming more intense, again, going back to the phrase, what we resist persists, due to our resistance to it. So being more familiar with it also helps me to really know what I need. And so we work with aromas. So by being familiar and getting to know these feelings that are coming up, I can choose the essential oils that are going to help me at that particular time. In that way, I'm reminded that the anxiety is a signal from the hidden parts of myself. It might be in my body, might be a shadow part of an emotion that's bubbling up, or a negative self-belief that's ready to come through so that I can integrate it. It's a reminder that I have allies. If I'm feeling like this, what do I do? Do I just go to eating or looking on my telephone? No. I go to my allies who are here to help me process. And one of my allies are aromas. So I don't see this as using an essential oil to dissociate or distract myself from the anxiety, or even to relieve it. Instead, I usually choose an oil from a selection by smelling them one by one. And then while I'm smelling them, I tune in once again to feeling the anxiety. And so then I'm instantly able to feel which particular oil is relieving and calming, or even elucidating and enlightening. So this may sound contradictory. On the one hand, I'm saying we need to fully feel our anxiety. On the other, I'm telling you to choose an oil that will transform the symptoms. But you're not covering them up. You're using the oil as an ally to help anxiety transform itself, or move, process, integrate. You're using an oil to have a successfully communicate from these unseen parts of your unconscious self. So you're bringing parts from the unconscious into the consciousness, and that's really what the oils are really good at. And once the anxiety comes up into consciousness, and it's sort of you're beholding it and loving it and allowing it, it will make its way out. So sometimes anxiety is a repeat visitor. This means we get to feel it again. And, there it is again. I wake up in the morning. Why is it here again? I did all this work and here it is again. But what I can recommend is that you use that opportunity and open yourself to the anxiety when you have time alone and can concentrate on that. When you can give it and yourself the attention you deserve. It's very useful to have an essential oil in your pocket that helps calm the feelings when you're busy. And you can say to yourself, okay, I've got to get through the day. I'm at work or I'm dealing with the kids or whatever. And I will use this oil to be able to make my way through. And then I will give time to this visitor when I have space and time at the end of the day, for example. In a way, you're adjusting the heat on the cooker. I'll allow the heat, I'll turn the heat up when I'm alone in my bedroom at the end of the day and I've got some time, I've got my oils, instead of getting burned because I'm trying to do something that I can't not do and the feeling is taking me over. Okay, so below are a selection of essential oils. I'll name them in the video that I just want to suggest that might be helpful to start working with anxiety. So, you'll find the ones that suit you, but I thought it might be helpful to give you a few that you might want to start looking at. And remember, the nose knows. Book knowledge can help you to a certain extent, but really go with the oils that you feel once you smell them. Listen to yourself. Listen to the way they interact with the anxiety and help move it on. So one that's very obvious is lavender. Lavandula angustifolia, which has a lot of esters in, which is a molecule that is known to be helpful for calming the system and being anti-anxious. It's antispasmodic, officially called, which means that it calms the system. However, do remember that some people may have unpleasant memories and associations with this smell. It's been so widely used, it's used in many different products, so some people might feel that it triggers something in them. That can be the same for any oil, really. It's a very motherly oil. It's something, it's an oil that will give a lot of nurturance, a lot of, like a mother, will help to make you feel safe. The other one I wanted to talk about is Angelica. Angelica archangelica, beautiful oil. We have the root and the seed at Kathy's Attars. And it's instantly, I find, soothing and grounding. So sometimes when we're feeling anxious, we might be triggered to sort of dissociate a little bit, not be in the present moment because we're trying to run away from the anxiety. So Angelica brings us into the body, brings us onto the earth, grounds us in a very sort of warming way. It's like a soft blanket that you put around you. And it's as deep inwardly as it is to the connection to the ground. So that's great if there's, as I said, a tendency to dissociate. Rose is a beautiful oil that has an affinity for the heart. I like the rose attar because it's in a sandalwood base, and that gives a grounding aspect to all aspects of the psyche. So you're grounded, and then you have this beautiful heart energy that comes in that helps us when we're feeling anxious and reminds us that we're held in a much bigger heart in a way. And again, the rose, like the lavender, has a very nurturing, nourishing, safe energy to it. Helichrysum. Helichrysum is a difficult oil in the sense that it's going to make that feeling be felt. You can't run away from a feeling when you're using helichrysum. It will really, what's ready to come up and be felt, it will make sure that you feel it. So if you do find yourself resisting and you know you want to sit with the feeling, helichrysum could be a really good oil for that, because it gets things moving again. In the same way that it's good for bruises and gets the blood circulating again, it does the same for these sort of psychic bruises. So it gets them moving again. We have to feel them so we can integrate them. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention CBD oil. So I use CBD oil a lot with my children, with myself, when there's deep anxiety. And it goes very well. You know, you can smell an oil and take the CBD oil, but it has to be of a very good quality. And definitely with no THC, because for many people, THC is anxiety provoking. Okay, so I'll leave the list of oils in the below this video, and I hope that was helpful. Lots of love.